Hi guys, this is Vitaly with AFT Dispatch and A2C Logistics, and in today's video, I'd like to cover a number of topics, including the freight recession that we currently find ourselves in. If you've been in trucking for any amount of time, you know that we're in a freight recession. Next, I'd like to cover the China trade declines that we've been experiencing for some time now, touch on the OOIDA and ATA actually agreeing on something for once, definitely a first, and falling ocean freight. All of these things will be covered in today's video. I'll try to make it entertaining at least, and if certainly informative. But I'll tell you this, I know that a lot of you guys have been talking about our videos being doom and gloom, and unfortunately, that's how it's going to be if the material that we're covering is doom and gloom. If things aren't looking good, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But I wanted to be preemptive and make sure to take care of those of you who are saying that it's doom and gloom by breaking things up and basically throwing in a little bit of jokes, just pepper them in there a little bit, and hopefully that will break the monotony and maybe get a smile out of your face. So let's get going, guys. What are we talking about here? What is a freight recession ultimately? What does it come down to? Well, a freight recession is when fewer trucks are moving fewer goods. Trucks delivering less goods, things are slowing down. That's a recession. That's what we got going on at this point. Now, OOIDA has been sounding the alarm actually on this for some time, as well as the ATA, right? The American Trucking Associations are also very, very worried. And like I said, believe it or not, they agree on the fact that we are in a freight recession. That's definitely first. Now, let's touch on OOIDA's portion first. Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association says that if things don't change by Memorial Day, expect the freight market to stay around the current levels for the rest of the year. The reason for that is because it's usually around Memorial Day that we have to see either declines or spikes. Generally foretells the remainder of the year. So Memorial Day is May 29th for those of you guys who don't know or may have forgotten. And Memorial Day is a big deal because this is when we celebrate the lives of those who have given up their lives for our for our freedom, our safety, security, and everything that the United States stands for. So definitely hats off to those guys. Now, the ATA side is that ATA's for-hire Contract Truck Tonnage Index had dropped by 6% month to month in March. Huge. 6% is a remarkably large figure, and that's actually the lowest point since August of 2021, to kind of put it into perspective, right? 2021 August, we were kicking butt, right? The freight rate slump must change or truckers are in trouble. That's actually what was said by ATA representatives. And here's, the question, why? Why is all of this happening? And the reason it's all happening is because high inventory levels and overstocked warehouses are two of the biggest reasons for this freight recession. We have too much stuff and none of it is really moving. And I'll show you in the remaining slides that I've created here for you that'll really tie all this together. You see, overbuying for the pandemic, we saw that. That's what caused the influx of freight. That's what made the prices come up because there was so much stuff to ship and there just wasn't enough trucks. And so obviously prices went up, but we overbought, right? Now we have elevated inflation, right? Everything's super expensive. Everything's doubling and tripling in price. I mean, look at eggs, right? Look at your cars and look at mortgages. Look at everything. Look at rent, right? Everything is inflated, excuse me. And we have a weakening consumer. And we'll talk about this as well. But basically consumers are not spending on goods. They're mainly spending on services. And the goods that they are spending are the goods that they really need for day-to-day survival joke time. So
how do you get a garbage truck driver to join the mafia? You make him an offer he can't refuse.
Well, I hope you guys really enjoyed that one. So here's the thing, guys. General merchandise stores like Walmart and Target are destocking. Well, you might be asking yourself, what is destocking? And here it is. Google, wonderful Google, from Collins Dictionary says to destock is to reduce the amount of stock held or to stop holding stock certain products, right? Stop holding stock of certain products. Now, active destocking refers to an active decision to reduce the inventory to sales ratio of a company. And that's what's happening some of the biggest retailers in the country. Now, furniture and home furnishing wholesalers, household appliances, and electrical and electronic goods wholesalers are still, very high on inventory levels. And this is coming from Andrew King of OOIDA or OOIDA. Now, there is no identifiable restocking for the peak season. Jonathan Chappell, or Chappell, I would probably think, a senior managing director at Evercore. The usual uptick in freight in August and October in the lead up to the holiday season just simply isn't there. And let's go back. The reason for this is that, if there's no restocking for the peak season, you have to have manufacturing, you have to have then shipping, you have to then have purchasing. So if one doesn't follow the other one, then and there's no peak, then for the August and October, when you have the start of the peak for the holiday holiday season, it just doesn't appear. So that's another major indicator. Now, ocean freight orders, they're down by 50% year over year, which impacts not only rail but also trucking, right? Road transportation. Now, let's look at the port numbers. We made a ton of videos about ports, and in this case, we're going to look at the New York and New Jersey ports. We can also look at Los Angeles and Long Beach and things like that. Now, Port of New York and New Jersey had 862,000 containers at peak. Now they're at 575. Huge decline. Port of Los Angeles, 960,000 containers dropped to 623. So that's about 30%, right? Even more if my math is correct. Now, what we're doing here is comparing current ocean freight orders leaving from all ports in the world and arriving at all ports in the United States. And when we do that, year over year, the levels are at half of where we would normally see them. This is absolutely terrible. And here it is, ocean bookings for cargo freight for the U.S. ports. Here we are right here. Now, there is some lag time. So what we may actually see is this come down, hit a little bounce, find a new floor, and bounce back up because, product would need to be, manufactured, produced, etc. But it's all going to depend on the consumer, whether or not they're going to be actually buying the things that are available currently, and maybe not, because that's maybe why Walmart and Target are destocking. They're doing this ahead of time, right? Because they have analysts that, tend to know what they're talking about and tend to know what they're doing. So, time for a joke.
Guys, let's take a look at the joke now. What's the difference between a Swift driver and a toilet? I tell you what, a toilet can back up. All right.
I just love that voice. Now, guys, the LMI from last week's video that we talked about, I'll leave a little card in the corner so you can take a look at that. It was the Logistics Managers Index. There it is, Logistics Managers Index. And then we have the PMI that we're going to explore this week. The PMI in this week's video is the Purchasing Managers Index. Two different indexes that if you use them together in conjunction, it will give you a lot of good information. Now, we covered last week the LMI, which looks at shipping, and this week we're going to cover the PMI, which looks at purchasing. Now, let's look at LMI. What does that mean? Logistics metrics such as transportation, warehousing, and inventory are leading economic indicators and can point towards potential movements in the overall economy. In our monthly survey, we gather the responses of over 100 professionals on the movement and direction of 8 key logistics metrics. These metrics are aggregated into Logistics Managers Index, which is released on the first Tuesday of every month. Now, let's look at the PMI, the Purchasing Managers Index, right? The PMI, an index that measures the month-to-month, month-over-month change in economic activity within the manufacturing sector. So obviously, two sides of the same coin. And what they really look at is right there: production, new orders, supplier deliveries, inventory, employment, prices, as well as imports and exports. All right, so now you know. Now, a 40% decrease in manufacturing orders foretells less freight movement by both truck and rail. And that's kind of what we saw with China. That's where we saw the major decline in the TEUs that were coming through, the containers that used to be floating around all over the Pacific, and now there's basically nothing out there. They got nothing to do. So sort of old news, but we're still feeling it though, right? So now we just don't have any product coming in, but that's because people aren't buying what's actually available. That's where the destocking comes in. And Chappell also said that, and this is interesting, capacity will certainly leave the market, but trucking is cynical. Well, I'm cynical. I know that for sure, but trucking is actually cyclical. And what we're talking about here is capacity will leave in droves. You're going to love this. I need a special voice for this one.
Capacity will leave in droves, demand will recover, pricing will go up, and capacity will come back up in droves.
So what this means, and that was way too much of a voice, so I won't use that one anymore, but capacity will leave in droves, right? So basically, when we're talking capacity, think trucks, right? So trucking companies will leave the industry in droves. Demand will recover, right? Demand for shipping. Pricing will go up because the number of trucks available will be lower. And the capacity, again, trucks will come back in droves because that's what happens. We hit a certain point of inflection and then boom, the truckers come back because finally the loads are paying well enough that they want to come back to the industry. Now, towards the end here, I wanted to talk to you about this consumer spending pattern that we've been seeing because we do have a weakening consumer, but it's a little bit different. And what we're talking about here is that consumers are spending on experiences still. They're looking at traveling, they're looking at leisure, and they're looking at going out to restaurants, things like that. And with summer around the corner, we expect more of the same. Less spending on goods, more on services and travel and leisure and restaurants, right? Now, consumers are spending on goods, but it's non-discretionary goods, right? So we're talking food, food, we're talking gas, we're talking rent, the absolute must. But they're not looking at spending money on the latest and greatest iPhone or Samsung phone or the latest and greatest, big screen TV or whatever, you cool cats like to purchase out there. But ultimately, that's the difference. And so if you're looking at shipping, it's going to be that food, medicine, basic essentials, things like that, right? Non-discretionary. So contractions in manufacturing PMI and what we looked at as far as the purchasing managers index, they correlate to less spending on goods, kind of what we just talked about. And this is something that I've kind of summarized based on the words of Peter Bookwar, hopefully I'm saying his name right, from Bleakley Financial Group. And, less goods produced means less goods ordered, means less goods transported, right? And that's how it affects not only rail, but also obviously trucking altogether. But time has come for the
joke, so let's jump in. What is the truck driver's favorite part of the movies? It's the trailers.
So guys, hopefully you've enjoyed that. If you guys need any help whatsoever, AFT Dispatch and A2C Logistics are here to help you guys out. Go to our website at aftdispatch.com. There you will find two forms. One's going to say, ask you if you're a carrier. The other one's going to say, are you an owner or operator? And you're going to click the one that you are, fill in the information. It takes maybe 10 seconds, and it will get back to you guys and answer any of the questions that you may have about either one of our programs. So we work with carriers as well as owner operators, and we can help you guys out, make more money, be more efficient, and ultimately be able to survive through this difficult market. Now, the number you can call or text is 801-448-6363. Call or text that number, and I would say definitely consider doing so, because right now the way that the market is, it's going to be a dog-eat-dog type of a situation. And what's going to be really super important is whether or not you're going to be able to handle what the market has in store for you, because we don't know if we're done with this stuff yet, or if there's more to come, right? We still don't know if the market is going to crash some more, if we're going to see rates decline, and we don't necessarily have to wait till the 29th of May in order to really have an answer. Look at what we've had going on. So for the longest time, we're going to sit around and going to wait for capacity to reduce itself and for us to start experiencing more of a capacity crunch rather than what we've been seeing right now. Not enough companies have shut down. I hate to say it. That's not a fun thought. That's not something that we want to see, but it's one of those things. It's kind of like, have the industry be profitable or not? Because if you only have 10 things to ship and you have 100 shippers, prices are going to be quite low. But if you have 100 things to ship and only 10 shippers, then prices are going to come up, right? The other way around. And so right now what we have is we just have way too many shippers, just not enough freight, and the consumer's not buying. So therefore, since they're not spending money, nothing's being reordered, nothing's being put together by the warehousing and manufacturing and things like that. So you really want to have strong dispatchers on your side, being able to elevate your game so that they're negotiating on your behalf. They're able to make more phone calls. They don't miss deals, because the good deals, they don't stick around. You get a good deal, that's on a load board for 10 seconds or less. You got to be on a phone. You got to be able to call there real quick, tie up the lines, get to the broker, get the loads, and do that. And you have to do that over and over and over and over again. And if you are using the same tools as everybody else, then how are you really highlighting your where's your edge is what I'm trying to say. Make sure that dispatch is your edge. Same thing with lease on owner operators. Like I said, if many cases when we talk to a lot of these lease on guys, they have good companies they're with, that's fine, but they charge too much, or they just don't have that strength in negotiating these rates. They don't really have dispatchers who really know what they're doing so that they can position themselves correctly in the market. So guys, all in all, we're here for owner ops, we're here for carriers. We'll help you guys out, but we can't reach out to you because we don't know who you are. We appreciate you viewing and watching our videos, commenting in the in the comment section. By the way, hit this like button, make sure to subscribe to our channel, and if you have any questions or anything like that, comment below. But if you have anything specific as far as your operation in particular and what we can do for you, and maybe review some numbers, or maybe you need some advice, or whatever may be the case, make sure to give us a call. Make sure to fill out those forms on our website. Make sure that you're doing whatever is in your power, which picking up the phone and calling somebody is in your power, leaving a comment, going on our website, going to the contact form, right, texting us, all those things are in your control. So make sure you're not just chilling and saying, well, the market's bad, I'm going out of business because the market's bad. Look, there's a lot of people that will make it through this period of time. They're not going to be super happy in the moment right now, but they will get over the hump, and when the market improves, they're going to be in business, and you want to make sure that you're one of those people. So I'll leave it at that, guys. Here's our information: 801-448-6363. Call or text that number. You also go to our website at aftdispatch.com. Appreciate your time. If you got any questions whatsoever, give us a jingle. Talk to you soon, guys. Take care.